Hi everyone. Today I am joined by the very lovely Nicola, a fellow UK resident, a Brit. I don't speak to many, don't speak to many English mums, but Nicola is here in the UK, and I am really excited because Nicola's here to share her experience with you about the new breastfeeding program, which is the Beautiful Breastfeeding Program, which is presented by our local Thompson Method educators. And this time we are referring to the very lovely Susanna Jackson. So thank you so much, Nicola, for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. And you have a very new baby. So congratulations again from us all on, well, from Thompson Method, I suppose. But how are you doing? How's everything going?
Yeah, he's doing really well. He's 3 weeks tomorrow.
Oh.
So, and yes, very different experience to the first time round, as you hinted. Um, yeah, we're already he's asleep in the carry cot, which is a miracle in itself.
Yes, we were talking, we were getting to know each other, weren't we, a little bit before, and we noticed that we both have that in common, that our firstborns weren't the best sleepers.
No.
And although we both also have in common that the start of our journeys with our first breastfeeding wasn't great either. So yeah, I'm pregnant at 37 weeks, so I'm hoping that I follow Nicola and second baby sleeps better.
Yes.
We'll see. We will see. So Nicola, I want to start by asking you, really, what made you start looking for or searching around for breastfeeding education? What gave you that suggestion to do so?
Well, as we said, the experience in my first one, although I did breastfeed him till he was 10 months old, it was really hard to the point that I actually didn't enjoy the first like 6 months of his life really, and it's kind of had a prolonged effect on how I found my maternity leave and everything like that. And I really didn't want that to be a factor this time. So I kind of felt like there's a lot of things that I knew from the first time round, and I just really wanted a different breastfeeding experience this time to the first time.
Yeah, I can absolutely relate to that. And actually, you might agree, you might not, but I found that it was quite common for people to just say, why don't you just bottle feed or go to formula or express? Why are you putting yourself through this? But everyone's unique. Our journeys are all unique. And sometimes our best option and something that we still choose to do is breastfeed, but it can be extremely isolating and overwhelming, especially if you're in pain or you're experiencing other challenges. And like you say, the first few months of their life can be almost have that sort of dark cloud of a memory over it if it's not going well. You don't have that support. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because it is always important to mention when you
Yeah, well, I
don't.
think last time we were getting married when the baby was 7 months old
Wow.
abroad, and I just knew that I needed to be able to breastfeed to make that work, like the flight and just being out in the Caribbean, like formula and stuff. Just like I'd researched, it just wasn't something you could really get like to the same standard that you can get over here. So I had that motivation to breastfeed no matter what, and
Yeah.
I knew I didn't have that this time, and I
Yeah.
didn't want to give up because, like you said, like within 2 weeks of my first son being bald, I had a pediatrician telling me I needed to give him formula.
Which is
And
very common,
yeah,
very common for a lot of us mums who experience minor bumps or even bigger obstacles and challenges with breastfeeding. That seems to be the first protocol for a lot of professionals, rather than finding the solution to the challenge that we're experiencing. And I guess you landed somehow upon the Thompson Method. Now, did you discover the Thompson Method itself first? What stood out for you? Or did you discover Susanna Jackson first? How did that work?
um, yeah, it's a bit about. I was seeing, because Facebook can hear you. I was seeing adverts on my Facebook feed because I'd been talking about breastfeeding and thinking about it and searching some stuff. And then it was in a local, I think Essex Mums group. I saw a post from Susanna, and it was the fact that I'd looked into the Thompson Method a bit, but the fact that it was in Australia and time difference and all that kind of stuff, I was like, I don't think that's really going to work. And then literally, like, Susanna, I think she was running a competition, and it appeared in one of the groups, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's literally down the road. and she's doing them in person. And I was like, I have to enter this competition. And I didn't win, but still, I then got to know what it was she was offering, and I was like, actually, I'm just going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I can relate to that. I held back from I mean, when I had my son, it was before the Thompson Method Beautiful Breastfeeding Program, which is now local. But even so, the same reason I held back, because it was in Australia. I didn't feel like I would get the support. But of course, now we both know different. You have the added bonus of having someone local. When I joined the program, even though I didn't have that, the support is just unfounded. It's just incredible through the main program as well. So for those of you watching, it can be a little bit confusing because there are two avenues to access the Thompson Method program. So there is what Nicola did, which is locally through an educator or online through an educator. And Susanna herself presented the program and the main principles of the Thompson Method over several weeks, giving Nicola time to absorb the information, ask questions, communicate with her. And then there's support offered throughout your pregnancy or from when you purchased and then beyond into the early stages of baby. Now, tell me about that, Nicola. So you had your baby, and sometimes it can be extremely overwhelming and you just need a bit of reassurance. Tell us what you were able to do being a member of the Beautiful Breastfeeding Program.
Well, it actually started before I had my son, because I had a few complications with my first birth. So Susanna arranged for me to speak to Rachel, one of the midwives, and actually create a birthing plan for if the same situation happened and if it didn't, so that I had like a breastfeeding plan for both scenarios. Because like the last time I ended up, um, yeah, like being separated from the baby and stuff because of me. Like the baby was fine, it was me. And it meant that I didn't get to breastfeed him straight away, and actually it was quite a long time, and that obviously caused issues with not being able to feed him properly at the very beginning. So I didn't want to, obviously, if the same thing happened and I got separated, I wanted to know what could I do. And then we had another plan for if I didn't get separated, what I would do. And I just felt like I kind of had everything covered before I had the baby. And I knew I was going to be able to make it work either way, which was like it really helped.
I think it's reassuring to know that you have that plan A, plan B, sometimes plan C. And one of the messages that we are always reminding women of is preparation is key to success. So whatever success looks like for you in your unique situation, preparing for different outcomes is actually the best way to go. And a lot of people misunderstand the Thompson Method as being a very natural, straightforward, everything going to plan principle of breastfeeding, but it's really not. And like you say, having the support to work on a birth plan with a midwife, I mean, that's pretty awesome. So I'm glad you were able to have that, and I imagine it did change your experience having the confidence and reassurance there as well.
Well,
Probably.
yeah, and also like my husband, like being my birth partner, he knew the different, because like he did needed to know what I wanted in case I got separated. I felt confident that he was also understanding what kind of we needed to do and all that kind of stuff. Because yeah, in those kind of situations, sometimes their birth partners as well, that it's a bit traumatic for them if it is ends up being emergency things and stuff like that.
Yeah, because it's hard for dads and birth partners and partners and family members who are involved, because sometimes they feel out of control. So giving them, having a strong advocate, which is another thing we talk about quite often in the program, and giving them information and working on it together, it makes it a whole new experience, especially if you had such a traumatic experience first time round. So that's wonderful. And then following the birth, I'm assuming and hoping you had a better birth
Oh yeah,
experience.
completely different this time. Yeah.
Good. I'm so glad to hear it. So tell
No,
us about the support and resources that you've been able to access since your baby boy has arrived.
yeah. So put a post in the group, the Thompson Club. I think it was about day 3 or 4. You know, when milk was peaking, and I think like the the first few feeds were fine. I think it was what happened. We got moved like really early in the morning, and it was dark, and I then just didn't get him to latch, like to feed properly, and that then caused, because obviously they clustered the feed that first few nights.
Oh no, it's exhausting, isn't it?
It then caused some issues with positioning and stuff like that. So it was really grateful I was able to have a call with Dr. Robin herself and another lady. It was quite strange. So there was Dr. Robin in Australia, there was me in England, and there was another lady in America,
That's
all on this
wonderful.
call together. Um, and she had a similar issues with her baby as well. So we got to work through both of us worked through a feed, and yeah, ended up finishing the feed with no pain. Um, and then I actually had another call, and this one was like 1 o'clock in the morning my time, which I mean, this is what actually the Thompson method and having the different people in the different countries is so good, because the hardest time is during the night. And obviously, if it was just UK based, people would be asleep that don't have babies. But because there's people in Australia, they're awake. So,
Yeah, my first rescue call with Dr. Robin was at 3 a.m. and it was always the struggle feed. That's what we called it, the struggle feed. So I can completely relate to that. And it is, we have a worldwide community, and being able to join in on a call with another mum, irrelevant of where she is in the world, this in this case a lady from the USA, and to know that someone's in the same boat as you, but you have that support, is it's just such a reassuring feeling. It's a weight off the shoulders. So I'm so happy that you've been able to work through those and are now enjoying breastfeeding, I hope, and
yeah,
feeling confident.
yeah, and he's doing so well. Like I know weight isn't like something you need to focus on, but I had weight was a major issue with my first. Um, like to the point, like I said, we were hospital referred and stuff like that. Whereas um, day by day 13, I think it was, he was he was born at like £8 4, and he was £8 9 by day 13.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, we do encourage women and families not to obsess and worry about
Yeah,
weight. But of course, if you can see your baby is thriving from your precious liquid gold, we're not going to deny that that's an awesome feeling. I struggled with weight with Jacob, also prolonged jaundice, and it was scary. We're not going to take that away from anyone. It's scary. Just try to focus on other things rather than just the weight. That's what we
yeah,
mean when we say that. But I mean, you must be thrilled over
yeah.
birth weight already.
And I couldn't
We're
believe
quite
it when
lucky
they
here in
said,
the UK that we are given a few weeks to reach birth weight again. In America, in the States, they have really strict rules on that. So we see a lot of mums in fear and under a lot of pressure to get babies to birth weight. So I'm really glad you mentioned that. So I have a question about the actual education, the presentation. So the beginning, you started speaking with Susanna, you discovered it through a mum's group, like you said, you'd explored and you decided that you were going to make that jump, pay the price and make the investment, which
"Mhm,
I'm sure you're glad you did.
yeah,
And
definitely."
there you are, you're now attending your first presentation and then the following presentations. What was it like?
Well, it was just so I've done a lot of online courses with various things, and what really was the reason why I went for it was because it was in person, and I know how much of a difference, like Zoom would have been the same, like, but just having that actual live trainer there going through it means you actually do it. Like the amount of times I've paid for something and you have to do it yourself, and it just sits there, and you may watch a few videos or do the first few lessons of something, but to actually get through the whole thing, and know, you know, we had like little homework videos to watch that we then could ask questions of the next time, and you wanted to do it because you knew you'd actually get your questions answered by a person.
Mm. Yeah, it's
um
definitely motivating, and working in
yeah,
a group, that community, that sense of community does help. And of course, with a program which is as detailed as the Thompson Method program, there's a lot of resources to navigate. So although it's laid out really well, and some people do prefer to just get on with it themselves, of course, we did have a wide community of women who would wanted to be more guided and help with navigating the resources. So that's actually why we launched, and why they're now launching the academy again for more educators and practitioners to come up, because that's something that the community that you guys said you wanted. So you found the resources helpful, and being able to actually see someone face to face and then learning about it all as well. So how different was the Thompson Method education in comparison to what you may have been taught with your firstborn?
Oh yeah, it just feels a lot more natural, and just obvious. Like when they're talking about like other animals, and you don't see a blind puppy being shoved on their mum. They find it themselves, and you know there may be one or two odd animals that need a bit of help, but the majority of them, they can all do it by themselves. And like at the end of the day, we are mammals as well, and I think we forget that.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And also in reference, pain seems to be and is, in Dr. Robbins' research, the number one reason and that women are forced to end breastfeeding. It's also the number one challenge we see in our community. But also questions and fears around low milk volume, low supply is another huge challenge that women face. And I think in comparison to what we're usually taught, especially here in the UK, the NHS midwives are amazing, and so are our local breastfeeding support workers. But they don't generally teach us how our body works to produce that precious liquid gold. We're normally given tips on how to overcome that, which can be quite forceful and non-gentle and natural, like you just said. But the Thompson Method actually teaches you the key principles of hormone stimulation for breast milk production. I found that so helpful in just eliminating the fears of not having enough, because I understood what was happening.
Yeah, and just knowing that those first, like the 72 to 96 hours, they are going to be on you a lot. But if you accept that, like I didn't sleep for like 36 hours or whatever it was.
Oh, bless
But,
you.
but I'd prepared myself for that. Like it didn't, it didn't help that we got moved just as we were going to be put to sleep in the ward and stuff. Oh, I think you might be waking up. But I'd kind of prepared myself for that, prepared my husband for that. So he took control of my older son, and I just was there with the baby, just getting the milk coming. And then once it did, you could get into that pattern, and he is going 3 hours between his feeds, and feeding both sides and doing his rest and digest and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's made a huge difference.
Yeah, I can relate to that, absolutely. I'm sure many women who have been through the Thompson Method can agree. And we're really excited for you and for Susanna Jackson. I actually have a message, and do feel free to collect baby if you need to, Mum. Go ahead. I actually have a message from the very wonderful Susanna Jackson. And she said, discovering the Thompson Method with my second baby had such a positive influence on my breastfeeding journey that it made me passionate about helping other mums have a great experience too. Thanks to the amazing Thompson Method Academy, I can now offer the same support I received, but in person, which is what Nicola mentioned, as well as online. And it's been a pleasure meeting Nicola in our community. And I look forward to meeting many more expecting mothers around Essex and in the rest of the UK too. What a wonderful message. We are so excited that this is a thing now for us in the Thompson Method. And I can see you have a lovely baby with you, Nicola.
Yeah.
Precious little peach fuzz head.
Bless him.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I've already recommended it to a friend of mine who was having a baby. She had a baby a couple of days ago, and she did sessions with Susanna as well, and just spreading the word really, because like it is so different to what you get taught. And like you said, we are lucky in the UK, especially where I am, that midwives were super supportive of breastfeeding and really want you to succeed with it. But like when I said I'm doing the Thompson Method, they were all like, what's that? And just like, you just want more people to know about it.
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying this, but I can relate. When it becomes something that is so important to you, it becomes a passion, and that's what we're all about: love and sharing and passing on the word around the world. So, yeah, I thank you so much for your time today. If you ladies watching, families watching, have any questions, do let us know. I'm going to pop Susanna Jackson's Thompson Method educator pages and her details down below in the comments. Reach out, connect with us, and you could be like Nicola, receiving that very special support and hopefully happy in your baby bubble. Nicola, thank you so much. Congratulations on
Thank you
your
very much.
adorable baby.
And good luck to you for your next one as well.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Take care, guys. Thank you so much for watching.